What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Today, I have with me Mr. Coach Mike White. What's up, Coach Mike White?
Hey, Dave. How are you out in the West Coast?
I am awesome, and you're in Florida.
Well, we're in Florida playing rainy season. You know, we got through our first month of hurricane season, so it's always good when you get past those things one at a time. So it's sunny and rainy all at the same time. You're familiar with how that works, except that, you know, when we have a cold front, it's 70. So, you know, we get past it.
Rub it in, brother. Well, hey, I wanted to get you on the phone because, you know, while I talk to some loan officers that are killing it, having a spectacular year, I talk to more loan officers that are not. And I'm seeing a growing number of loan officers that have, you know, been doing this for a long time. They've had really solid levels of success, and they're struggling. You know, they're like, this is a tough year. Doing a loan's never been harder. You know, conversion, you know, rate shopping's up, the compression wars, you know what I mean, rising interest rates, price compression, low inventory, you know the deal. And so I just want to, you and I have a public conversation around, you know, what should loan officers be doing to get unstuck? Folks that are stuck, what can they do to get unstuck? And maybe you can provide your own kind of narrative as to what you're hearing with all of your clients.
Sure, Dave. I think, you know, for me, it's June. And so with my normal clients and the normal course of business, this is like the mid-season checkup. It's sort of like halftime, right? We're halfway through the year. We're about 120 days away from meeting the last client we're going to close before we get, you know, in order to get paid in calendar year 2018. And I think what you're seeing, and it's the same thing that I get a lot of calls on, people who are very successful, who are not doing as well as they had like, or feel like they're doing as well, but it's a lot harder. And I think what you really need to do is know the truth. And the truth really comes down to is, what are your numbers? What are you doing? We did a segment not too long ago. Actually, it was long ago. It was a couple years ago, and on gamification, when we talked about, you know, making this a game. And so for me, it's sort of like, what's your percentages? What are your batting average, right? We talked about people focusing on generating leads. I get a lot of people saying, hey, Mike, you know, how do I generate more leads? And I said, well, what's your conversion rate on what you're doing now? To me, it's much more important to know what somebody's conversion rate is, not what their lead generation rate is, and to know the math behind it. Because if you've got loan officers who are spending 40, 50, 60% of their time generating what amounts to be 20% of their closed loans, they got to rethink that and reproportion their activities. And some really good loan officers, they kind of get stuck. It's like that pitcher who falls in love with his curveball. You know, they warmed up in the bullpen, the curveball was working really well, and then they go out there and all they want to do is throw the curveball. Well, sooner or later, the batter knows you're going to throw the stupid curveball and they're just going to tee up on you, right? So you got to look back at the numbers. Who are your referral partners? What were your plans for what you were doing? And, you know, I just come back from St. Louis. I was out with a lender in St. Louis, and one of the horror stories that I had in this industry is they were complaining their numbers were off. And we're looking at all their math, and their credit report pulls were the same. Their pre-approval numbers were the same. Their conversion rate from pre-approval to closing was like 40% of what it had been. And so I asked them, well, what do you guys do from the time you pre-approve somebody to the time you close? Oh, we don't worry about it. They come back to us. I said, well, obviously not. You know, it's like, you know, I said, so let's start calling these people and finding out what happened. And about 60% of the people said, oh, well, your loan officer was great. I liked them a lot, but, you know, we just went with the realtor that we went to now, and we closed with their lender because it didn't matter. Really? Well, it matters to me. If I'm making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a loan, it damn sure ought to matter to me. So, you know, the reality here is paying attention to the math. What's working? What's not working? And, you know, what I like to do is I call it Wacky Wednesdays, is take a Wednesday in the middle of the day and spend an hour doing something for prospecting purposes that you never did before. Call other banks and lending institutions in your marketplace who maybe not do mortgage loans, or call a financial planning firm or something like that. You know, it just change it up.
So a couple thoughts. I mean, you said a lot, so I want to unpack a few things. One, you mentioned that call we did around gamifying the business. I'm going to put a
Right.
link down below. So if you're watching this, by the way, Coach Mike did a great job of just how the mortgage business is like baseball and how you should keep score and how to track it. And so if you want to check that out, there'll be a link down below. It was a great interview. I hear it all the time because Mortgage Coach is such a powerful conversion tool. I hear all the time that conversions are down, 40%, 20%, 60% of what they've been in the past, and primarily focusing on purchases. Let's just, if you don't mind, let's focus on that. So first of all, guys, you need to be measuring your pull through on conversion. And then I would recommend everybody on this call write down what is your sales process to ensure that when you meet with the client, you crush it. And two, that you convert that pre-qual, knowing that it's going to take 30, 60, 90 days from the time that you pre-qual till they get into escrow. What is your sales process? Now, I'm going to throw this back to you in a minute, Mike. We advocate a lot, that total cost analysis. If you deliver that at the point of sale and you really set the expectations that, the story's just starting. This is what the rates are. This is what the down payment is. I can update this along the way. And if you ever want to see a different purchase price, you want to see a different loan amount, just let me know. You can text me, email me, and I can update your total cost analysis app on the spot. One, if you could just kind of describe how you're recommending Mortgage Coach to your clients. And then two, let's give them another idea on how they can improve conversion rates with pre-approvals.
Well, Dave, I think there's two things that I hear a lot of that kind of drive me crazy and make me scratch my head and wonder what people are thinking. And the first thing is some loan officers look at the total cost analysis or all the information that's in there, and they say, well, it confuses my client. And I was like, well, how does it confuse your client if you're explaining to them in the video what it is that they're looking at and why it's important? I said, if you do a really good job understanding what you're doing in the total cost analysis and why it's relevant to the customer, and God knows you've got enough information on the site about all these other really good loan officers who share it and have great results with it, that should never be an objection, because anybody who doesn't want that information doesn't have to look at it. So it's only a win and it can never be a loss. So why are you not doing it every time? And that's one of the things that doesn't happen, is they don't use the tool every time. They don't think, well, that person didn't strike me as somebody who wanted that type of information. So I think get in the habit of doing the Mortgage Coach in the video and setting the expectations. And like you said, share with them that you can update this information. You can update the numbers for them with a specific deal. So that's number one. And I think that the second most important thing is they don't pay attention to when people go back and review it and then call them when they see, one of the great things about it is, when people are looking at the presentation, right? So if you've got a customer and you see activity on that, on that presentation, call them. I saw you were looking at the presentation. Is there something I can help you with? I mean, I try to convince my own clients who have pre-approvals out there to call their clients every Thursday to see if they're even seeing property, because it's like, you don't know what's going on, so you can't assume. And I think, Mortgage Coach is one of those tools. I call it sticky technology, right? You use it, you send it out, and then you know what people are doing with it all the time. So it becomes really important. But when you see the people are using the tool or they're looking at the tool, and then you don't follow up to find out why, you're missing an opportunity to lock them into why they chose you in the first place, which was being that local expert and authority that's providing them all the information. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. So a couple things, folks, that occurred to me as I was hearing Coach Mike go through this. How important it is that, one, you set that expectation that I can update it. I recently created what's called the lead conversion playbook. I'm going to put a link down below on that. And one of the, there was 9 strategies to optimize your conversion. There's 9 strategies in the playbook. And one of them was you've got to give people options. And especially with pre-approvals, because they're gonna be out shopping. They're gonna talk to other realtors, they're gonna talk to other lenders, they're gonna look online. And if you don't give them options and then say, hey, if you want to update these options, just text, email, or call me, they're gonna go shop outside of your platform. So it's important that you have a platform like Mortgage Coach and the Total Cost Analysis. You deliver the rates and fees, and then you make it easy for the client to update you. So you said that, and then I love 2 other things. I just want to make sure everybody writes it down. Every Thursday, call all your pre-approvals, or every other Thursday, however you want to do it. I've interviewed a lot of loan officers, and I'm hearing different, kind of rhythms as to how often they call. And remember, you can multi-channel communicate. You can text them, you can email them, By the way, you mentioned the whole video part. That's something that I always try to, tell the Mortgage Coach community why adding a video is valuable. It would be great to hear another voice from you. Why add the video to the Mortgage Coach, Total Cost Analysis from your perspective?
Well, let me be honest. Video is what people gravitate toward, right? If 70 to 80% of all the content that's viewed on social media is video, who are we to sit there and say it's not how people want their content? And the other thing is if you're not using video, you're not making it personal. How are you establishing a personal relationship? When I first started, people used to come to the office and they'd bring all their stuff and you'd sit across the desk and work through the process with them. That's not how it is. So now it's either by the phone, and how do you develop that rapport? How do you, communicate as people? And so if you're not out there doing that video, if you're not communicating and setting expectations, you're missing a vital way of connecting with the very people that you want to connect with. Do you want to be an online lender? I mean, if you want to work in a call center and just answer the phone and try to help people and slam deals together for 40 basis points, go ahead. But people who are watching this interview are not people who are interested in making 10 to 40 basis points working in a call center. So if you're going to make more than that, you've got to earn the money. And the way you earn the money is showing people how what you do matters. How do we create the value in me being an expert and helping you guide you through a seamless process and answer all the questions and make you feel good about it if I don't talk to you, if you don't see that I'm a person? And the reality of it is we've gotten so disconnected. It aggravates me to no end. People get buried in their phones and they want to text and they want to whatever. Do the video. To any of your people, I'll make them all a bet. Okay, if you're not doing videos now, start doing the videos. And if you don't notice a huge difference in your pull-through rate and the number of views your Mortgage Coach presentation gets, okay, I'll pay for your Mortgage Coach for a month. Just send me an email and said, I saw you on the Dave Savage thing and you lied to me. I did what you told me to do, and it didn't get any better, and I'll send you a check. All right? I mean, seriously, how many deals do you have to get better to make it worth doing that 5-minute or 3-minute video? How many more deals would you need to do? I mean, figure it out. You do one more deal a month. What's your average commission rate? Come on, it's no brainer to use 90% of a tool. Is like me sending you a check and you endorsing it and not depositing it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I highly recommend everybody watching this. We want to help improve your conversion. We want to help you turn more of the pre-approvals you do into fundings, into loans. So, down below is our conversion playbook. You just got some great ideas from Coach Mike White. He made a really nice offer. I hope no one takes him up on it. If you do add a video, which we make it really easy for you to do it. So Coach, as we wrap this up, I want to close with how anybody can reach out to you and, get coached up, get unstuck. I think you're a master at that. But is there anything else we're missing when you think of pre-approval, ask great questions, show up? And by the way, even if they do come into your office, you still want them to download the Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis And that doesn't mean that you don't add a video to it at some point, because remember, there are people involved in the transaction that didn't come into your office. And remember, it's going to take 60 to 90 days to get it into escrow. So adding that video, even if you had an office experience, makes sense. But anything else you want to add to kind of the checklist of conversion for pre-approvals, and then we'll close with how to connect with you.
I think you've got to really know the math. You know, you got to start out with knowing what you're doing and how it generates the opportunities, and how that leads in your progression. The number one thing that I do with everybody that I get in front of is I have them track that information. First, I ask them to write down what they think their math is. And then I have them go back and actually write down the real numbers. And it's usually pretty exciting when they go, wow, that's not really what I thought. The second thing I have them do is find out what their gestation period is of the file flow, which is how long does it take from contact to closing? How many days are those people generally in your queue? So you can set yourself up to know if my people are taking 60 or 90 days to close, and that's their gestation period from the time that I meet them. If I want to close 10 deals a month, then I need 30 people in my pre-approval queue at all times. That's a great indicator. If all of a sudden my gestation period starts to go 95 days, 100 days, 120 days, 160, well, what's happening? Either your market is slowing down or your people aren't being coached to pull the trigger. And if you can't coach people in today's market with interest rates going higher, prices going higher, every day they're waiting is costing them money. You have a great program, the cost of waiting. I suggest everybody get in there and say, you want to sit and play with this, it's only going to cost you money later. If you think rates are higher and prices are higher now, wait till next month and see what they look like. And I mean, that's pretty straightforward. So really, for me, it's always about knowing the numbers. You can't be mad at the numbers. There is no such thing as bad numbers or good numbers. The numbers are what they are. And you may not be happy with it, but adjust it and fix it and try something different. And that's the first thing that I do with people. And as far as what you were talking about, whether you're a company or a branch or whatever, we can either do it on the phone if you're a bigger company with bigger problems or a bigger team. Then a site visit will work, and I'll come out there. And for Mortgage Coach people, there's a pretty good discount on me going if they just remind me that they saw this through Mortgage Coach. And we'll work through what the math is, and I'll let you know what I think and what I'm seeing and where the numbers are, and we'll give you some help. And if they want to reach out and touch, it's Mike@imtcoaching.com. It's not anything complicated. Just send me an email and say, hey, I saw this thing. I think you're absolutely full of garbage, or this might work, or whatever. Tell me what the problem is. Let's have a phone call about it. And if I can help, be happy to do it. And if I can't, I know a lot of other coaches and trainers who are in the business who are really good. That might be the type of person that will help you get to where you need to go. It's all about you being successful. And whether it's me or somebody else, you got to compete in today's market on a relational basis, because the transactional piece of the marketplace has already been taken. You know, you're already competing. When we talk about mortgage compression, margin compressions and stuff, hey, you know, the internet lenders are there. And it's not long before Amazon and all these other people jump into the market, because there's a lot of money to be made on the transactional side. So you're either gonna professional yourself up and become that expert and understand the value of the relationships and providing an exceptional experience, or you can just concede the high ground and say, you know what, I can't compete with the big internet lenders, so I'm just going to get out of the business. And I think that's just silly, because I don't think people want call center lending. I think they'd like to have somebody that they know, like, and trust, who they think is a local expert to help them.
There's no doubt. So if you got value from this, like it. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like. If you're watching it on Facebook, like it, share it. I'd also really love to know what your conversion is. So if you know your numbers, you know, whether you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, let us know, like, hey, my conversion rate is blank. I would just love to hear from you, and really do reach out to Coach Mike. I mean, he's a fabulous resources, major straight shooter, and can help you whether you're a new loan officer who's trying to really ramp up your success, whether you're stuck and you need to get unstuck, or whether you're a top producer and you just want to take it to the next level, Coach Mike White is someone that can definitely help you take it to that level and shoot straight with you. And I love the fact that, when I first met you, I can't remember what event it was, he just believes that if you're not delivering a total cost analysis, it's something that you're always confused about. So I obviously love that about you, Coach. Any last words of wisdom before we wrap it up?
A couple of times you use the word stuck or in a rut. And I think about when you first said that to me, I thought about the old days when the covered wagons were growing across the country and they just put their wheels in the ruts of the wheels that were in front of them and just followed the ruts to get them to go out west. And think about what rut is. If you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again and not getting the answers that you want, then get out of the rut. Do something different. We all know you do the same thing over and over again, expect a different outcome. It's not going to happen on the positive side. And what some of the things that happen to you guys is things that used to work in the past is not working today as well as it did in the past. And much of the time it's just minor modifications, or like I said, pull a wacky Wednesday. Take some time on Wednesday afternoon to spend an hour prospecting in an area you've never done before. I don't care if you go down to the mall and just hand your business cards to 50 people that you've never met. Just do something different. Because I'm telling you, as my friend Steve Harney says, 10% different is 100% better. Sometimes you just got to change what you're doing. It doesn't mean completely. I don't mean change your whole life. But just change something. Pick a day, pick a time, and make it happen. And as far as the total cost analysis, that me, a lot of people don't want to work with me because I do tell them the way I see it, and whether they like what I have to say or not can be a blessing, it can be a curse. But the reality of it is, I don't say it because you pay me to say it. I pay it because it works. And if it hasn't been proven to me that my clients who use the tool get better results than the ones that don't, what do I need to do? And by the way, Dave has bought me dinner a couple of times. He certainly has never sent me a check. So if you ever feel like you're making too much money and want to write me a big check, I'll be happy to cash it. But the reality of it is this is not a paid endorsement. It works. And there's a lot of companies out there who put out a lot of products. This is one of the ones that works, that is fairly simple to use, has great support. So just stop hemming and hard about it and make it happen.
Love it. Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, like it, share it. Coach Mike White, really appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care, everybody.